Welcome in. This is your odds checker betting preview for this week's Tour Championship. I'm Rick Gehman. That right there, Geoff Fienberg. And Geoff, this is the one time a year that we get to talk about what the leaderboard looks like before the guys even tee off on Thursday morning.
It kind of feels like I'm joining a podcast after round one, right? And we're kind of making live picks in some respects. The fact that we do have this leaderboard, Rick, I have, been pretty vocal. I'm not a fan of this format whatsoever. I'm self-aware enough to realize sort of by the time we're out of Thursday, Friday, and we're into the big television audience, the reality is it's probably 3 or 4 of the biggest names in golf, that's very small handful we actually believe can win this week, fighting it off. So while it's annoying for the content purposes, it makes me less confident, which isn't such a bad thing. It's harder to make content like we're doing right now for Odds Checker. But once they get to the weekend, starting strokes don't feel like they even existed. And you probably do have two or three of the biggest names in golf going for this thing. Still not a fan.
Well, if you haven't been paying attention, you've been living under a rock. What we're talking about here is that Scotty Scheffler is going to start this tournament at 10 under par. Patrick Cantlay is going to start 2 shots back. Will Zalatoris 3 shots back, so on and so forth, all the way through this 30-man field here, Geoff. So Odds Checker has the grid available for both starting strokes and non-starting strokes. So let's start with the starting strokes. Obviously, Scotty Scheffler, because he's got a 2-shot lead on second place and even a bigger lead on the rest of the field, is the heavy favorite to win this. Plus 250 is the best number you can get. BetMGM has that. Patrick Cantlay 4-1, Xander Schauffele 7.5-1, Rory McIlroy and Will Zalatoris at 12. How far do I need to go down the board? I was telling you, I think there's like 6 guys that can win this with the starting strokes.
Yeah, and I would pretty much agree to a T. And I honestly, Rick, I know we've been, if you sort of try to limit fields this year or make them smaller, you haven't been wrong because favorites have been winning. But I don't think in my desire to really cut down fields, I've been wrong. The last time I could remember being wrong would be Billy Horschel at the Memorial. I don't mean not having the winner. I just mean the winner coming from that finite pocket. And here, I'm with you. It's 6 guys.
Yeah, so I think for me, some of the logical bets probably revolve around Patrick Cantlay at 4-1, Xander Schauffele 7.5. I'm not going to kill you for Rory McIlroy, but I draw the line at Tony Finau. He's like the long shot here. He's 22-1. He's going to start 6 shots back, but he has like 3 of the 4 highest ceiling weeks of the year outside of Rory at the RBC Canadian Open, because the further back you start, Geoff, the more ceiling you need to be able to access.
Yeah, and we see it all the time. A guy, who's 6 or 7 back shoots 6 under, the leader shoots 2 under. All of a sudden, we're cutting into that number. It's really one of these things, Rick, where I'm like trying to quantify the numbers. Just as an example, like in the pocket of guys we believe who can win. Xander Schauffele, you see it, plus 750. He's got 1 shot on Rory, who is, at 12-1. Over 4 days, 1 stroke, like that's nothing to me. That is nothing. Like they may as well be tied, despite me liking Xander and liking Rory. But my pick at the moment right now, maybe I'm a victim of the moment, or just because last week I was putting air in Patrick Cantlay's tires and then said, nope, I'm betting Jon Rahm. But I feel it again. And the same argument I just made from Xander to Rory, well, Rory's at 5 under, and I can get Rahm getting 5 points more essentially for 1 stroke. I'm confident Rahm can make that up over the course of 4 days. Now, the problem is he doesn't have to catch Rory. He has to catch Scotty Scheffler. But, it's just the value of the strokes. You have to determine, I guess, yourself what they are actually worth. But Rahm, the driver's been great all year, historically good, despite the only win in Mexico. Irons are coming around, best putting week of the season. I'm counting on Jon Rahm to go absolutely banana, at least early in this tournament, or he can then get in that mode, Rick, to do what he's been doing on weekends.
Yeah, last 3 rounds in Wilmington were pretty special stuff. Jon Rahm 16-1. That's the best number. You can basically get it anywhere across the industry. Geoff, if we turn our attention to the gross version of this event, now a lot more guys are available. If you look back at last year, technically Jon Rahm and Kevin Na won this version. Now, I guess it would just be a dead heat at the top if that happened. We wouldn't get a playoff if, you know what I mean? This would just be a dead heat if two guys die at the top.
Yeah, I guess they'd pay it out like a first round leader bet. Essentially, dead heat rules would apply. It's a tough market in the sense that if you're going to bet on a really good player, I do worry about, like just Jon Rahm or Rory as an example, Rick. They would be the guys at the top of this market. They're going to try to win that huge purse.
Yeah.
And once they deem that they're unable to, I don't know like where they are. Like they're not chasing some mystery leaderboard, if that makes any sense. And I don't want to put down what 500,000 would mean to them. The placings are worth a lot here, but I don't know. There's so many unknowns also, in my opinion, when betting this leaderboard. Like, does the player even know or care? And you could argue him not knowing or caring could be a positive. Golf's such a crazy game like that.
Or they could know and they could care, but their goals are not necessarily aligning with your goals. You know, they're trying to win the FedEx Cup. They know their place on the net leaderboard, but you care about them on the gross leaderboard. So it's kind of an awkward little spot. The one that I think has caught, I guess there's two that have caught my attention. Matt Fitzpatrick is 20-1. Colin Morikawa is 28-1. And Colin Morikawa, that number, you can get the best number available at DraftKings by far. So use the grid. So Morikawa has flashed a lot of ceiling as of late. We've also seen a little bit of the floor, but I'm okay with that. Fitzpatrick is interesting, Geoff, because Eastlake generally plays pretty difficult. If you go out there and shoot 2-3 under par a day, you might be in the mix for the gross version of this.
I would totally agree with that. Near the top, my lean here would be Xander. We've seen what he can do in form, and he's continued it. Had a strong week last week, and it's a course that he absolutely loves and has dominated in the past. But I do agree with you, Rick. In this market, I am looking, sort of in the 20s. Fitzpatrick, Sungjae M, you mentioned Colin Morikawa, 28-1. I really do like that suggestion. Granted, the season is ending. I get the sense Morikawa would really like to put 4 great rounds together, regardless of that leaderboard. And you know me, and I don't got to twist your arm very high. And you could say there are a lot of lucky chip-ins or a hole-in-one, maybe more than one, Rick. But Hovland at 35-1 in such a small field where, I don't know, a couple guys can just go nuclear. I don't know that I have the willpower this deep in the season, despite maybe the form not being where I want it to be. But I get sucked into that 6 under on what looked like a very difficult Sunday in Wilmington. But Morikawa, Hovland, the two guys I'm be looking at in this market, 28 and 35-1 on the grid.
Yeah, Victor as short as 25, as long as 35. So obviously using the grid to your advantage there. Geoff, what does the betting card look like just in terms of how are you going to be equally exposed to the starting strokes versus the non-starting strokes? Is it going to be a similar size as normal? Like, what's the construction?
Like, I will be in both markets and I'll have these fantasies about winning a bet in both markets.
Yeah, that's the dream.
That is sort of the dream. All that being said, I think it's going to be super reined in. Like, what I am trying to win on a bet this week is not what I'm trying to. The number that I want my bets to pay out is not the number that I'm looking for week in, week out on tour. It's kind of like a novelty, and especially in that starting strokes market, Rick. I believe, like you, 6 guys can win, and the 3 I'm debating between. Well, the one I've bet is Jon Rahm 18-1, and I honestly might play that with Rory or even Xander. Like, pretty aggressive, right. But I'm debating between 3 of the 6 that I think can win. Granted, I'm not going to bet all 3. 2 would be my max there. And that's why in that other market without the starting strokes, I'm staring at Morikawa 28, Victor 35, a little higher in the odds, but players that I do trust, and I could put a little on it. But long way of answering, like, golf season's over. Pre-tournament betting is over. Maybe we can catch something great live or on the fly. Sort of feels like any bet in the with starting strokes market is a live bet. But yeah, this will be super reined in for me. Yeah, that's where my head is at, Rick.
All right, 30 players to battle it out for the FedEx Cup. Geoff Fienberg is available on Twitter at GFienberg17. You can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been your odds checker betting preview for the Tour Championship. Good luck.